Hey everybody, welcome back and welcome to my very first English teaching video. My last video was just an introduction, and one thing I want to talk about today that I think is very important is how we pronounce the letter I. And this is one of those things that if you correct this, if you start saying the letter I differently when you speak English, you will automatically sound more natural, more authentic, more understandable, and basically this is the correct way of speaking English. So this is a tiny little thing that you're probably getting wrong, and if you just correct it, you will sound, I'm going to say 10, 20, even 30% or more better in English because of your pronunciation. And what do I mean? The letter I, right? And if you're not familiar with this letter and you don't know what this letter is called, one thing I was really surprised about was that so many of my own personal students don't actually know the alphabet. So like if I said, what is this letter? A lot of my students would say, E? And no, it's not an E, it's an I. And additionally, this letter is almost never pronounced E. Now don't get me wrong, there's always exceptions, especially if it's borrowed from another language like Latin or something like that. Like for example, like spaghetti, right? It's got an I at the end and we say E, but that's very, very rare. That's almost never do we pronounce the letter I like an E. Now obviously we have the letter I pronounced different ways, right? For example, the word fight or sight. Obviously, this is a weird pronunciation of the letter I. We also have words like high or bilingual, right? And here it's an I. So it really depends on where you see this letter. But I don't want to talk about those examples. I don't want to talk about those words and how we pronounce an I there. I want to talk about something that you're probably getting wrong almost always, depending where you're from. And this is probably because in your native language, depending where you're from, of course, the letter I is pronounced like an E. But like I said, in English, it's almost never pronounced like an E. Almost never. So, for example, words like sit, fit, hit, sick. These words are actually pronounced like an I. So, sick, sit, fit, hit, bit. And you hear that here I'm saying I and not E. A common mistake that I've heard not only from Polish people, but also Spanish speakers, and honestly a lot of people who are learning English or speak English as a second language, is that they're pronouncing it seat or heat or feet. And obviously that is not correct, right? So whenever I see the word fit, right? It's an if, fits. And I remember I had a Polish girlfriend in Poland, and she would always say, oh, I like to work out because I'm fit. But she wouldn't say I'm fit, she would say I'm feet. And I'm like, ew, gross, your feet? What do you mean? Are you like, is that like transgender except like trans foot? That like you turn into feet? Like how is that possible that you are feet? Are you just no longer a human? Like when someone says I'm feet, I imagine that they're just like, yeah, you know what? I don't want to be a person anymore. From now on, I'm going to be feet. So that sounds super weird, and that's not correct. That's not how you pronounce that word. It's fit. Now, obviously, that's a joke. Most people are not going to think that you are feet. However, it sounds bad, and people sometimes will not know what you're saying. I had a good Polish friend of mine when I was living in Poland, and she would always say seek instead of sick, right? And that's a big difference. I know that might not sound like a big difference, right? I think a lot of you are probably thinking, oh, that's not a big deal. Sick, seek, what's the difference? Hey, it makes a big difference. And I told my friend, hey, don't say Sikh. When I hear Sikh, I imagine like an Indian Sikh. You know, that's what I think of. And so she's like, yeah, I'm Sikh. And I just imagine her coming to my house wearing like a big turban with like a beard, being like, oh, hello, I'm Sikh. Like, that's how I imagine it. But obviously that's not what she meant. She was trying to say sick, and I would always correct her, but she never took it seriously until one day me and her visited the United States, and we were talking to an American, and she was saying, yeah, I'm a little bit Sikh. And the guy was like, I'm sorry, what? You're a little And he like totally did not know what she was saying. And I looked at her and I was like, yeah, exactly. That's what I've been talking about. And she was like, oh, wow, it is a big deal. Because, hey, you know what? It is a big deal. So it's pronounced sick, sit, hit, fit. It's definitely not pronounced heat. And it's definitely not pronounced seek, right? The letter I in this example is pronounced I. And I'm going to just go ahead and make a statement. Maybe this is a bold statement. Maybe this statement is, too daring and brave of me. But I'm going to say that more than likely, every word that has a letter I, and you're pronouncing it E, I'm going to go ahead and say that you're wrong, right? Right? Okay, that sounds terrible. But more than likely, every word that you're pronouncing that has a letter I, and if you're pronouncing it with an E, then you're probably wrong. It's like 99, I'm going to say 99% of the time you're wrong. And all you have to do to make it better, to make it sound 2,000% better, is just change it to an I. Sit, hit, fit, sick. It's a small change, big difference. And I guarantee that you will sound a lot better in English if you change your I from an E to an I. And before I go, I just want to clarify one more thing. The only time we pronounce words with an E, or almost the only time, right? Because sometimes an I is an E, but it's 99% of the time it's not. But the rest of the time, every time we have an E, it's because we have two E's. So meaning words that have EE, for example, keep, or words that have an EA, like beach. I also want to say that occasionally the letter E by itself will be pronounced E. I don't have any examples off the top of my head. It's a lot more rare. Usually just an E is E. Two E's is E, an E and an A is E. One E is E, sometimes E, and the letter I is almost never pronounced E. And that's it for today's video. Let me know what you think of today's video in the comments. Make sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share this video with your friends and family. And if you have any other suggestions of videos that you would like to see in the future, go ahead and write them in the comments, and I'll make sure to make videos about them. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.